Hello and welcome back to Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, brought to you by Commando Gaming and Battletech Battles. As discussed in the previous videos on this game, I didn't have an opportunity to play this when it first came out, and I had the urge to play some space strategy combat, and the games that are currently out in the market, most of them I've already played, and you can actually find on our channel. So I'm actually going to give this title a try. This is the third video in this series. And again, I have to start out at the main title screen, because if I don't, you often will miss valuable dialogue. So we're just going to resume our campaign here. So I did engage in two minor battles off camera. I wasn't able to record at the time. Nothing really significant happened. I did produce some adamant frigates, so they've been added onto our fleet. We now have two fleets, primary fleets available. I have one here, Colonial Fleet 7. And then I have our main fleet, which is around the shipyard. So what I'm actually going to do here is I have some frigates that I created to replace one that was destroyed in my, I'm calling this like the Home Guard fleet, designed to try to take on some of these enemy incursions. It's not an overly whelmingly powerful fleet, but the whole idea behind it is I want to have a smaller fleet that can engage these small incursions. So I'm actually going to jump the replacement frigate, corvette, to my defense fleet. And then our main fleet, I'm actually going to jump to proceed with our main mission. So let's do that. Fleet group is going to jump, and we're going to send it on as part of our main mission. So with this game, it is turn-based, so you want to make sure that you set up all of your jumps. If you want them to happen consecutively, you set them up at the same time. And then you end turn, so everybody jumps
Cylon escort group has been detected
at the same time. Alright, so what we have here is we've got some more Cylon incursions. We expected this to happen. So I've actually reinforced what I want to do. Oh, it's not going to let me do anything with these fleets until I address this main situation here. So we're going to go ahead and, this is Chapter 4. I have not played this before, so you're going to be seeing it from me, so we'll go ahead and proceed. So this is there's two types of missions here. There's kind of the story missions, and then there's side missions. So this is the next story mission, Chapter 4. So let's proceed with that. Hopefully I have a sufficient force available to take on this chapter. Now that I'm splitting up my forces into two fleets, we have to be cognizant of what our exposure is here. So we've got our main shipyard, and then we have two corvettes, and then we have two frigates. So it's not a massive force. So let's try to keep everything together here. And proceed.
Fleet group is jumping in 3, 2, 1.
I do love the
Multiple contacts on Dratus, sir. Records show there hasn't been a Tauran presence out here since the war first broke. We can safely assume any Dratus contacts out there are hostile. Blast us away home, Commander.
all right. So our objective here is we need to clear out this base, this territory, so we can travel the shipyard back home. So one thing, those 2 side missions that I did off camera, they helped me become a little better at addressing some certain things. So first of all, we're going to put the posture for our shipyard as defensive. We're going to immediately launch the squadrons
Launching alert Vipers.
that are available. That's the primary resource the shipyard gives you. If the enemy gets so close that you can actually fire your main guns with the shipyard, you're doing something wrong. All right, so we have 2 targets right now so far, and we have 4 ships. So let's set up 2 task forces.
Yes, Commander.
And head towards those 2 targets. We're also going to launch Vipers off of our frigates. Each of the frigates has 2 fighters available. Or 1 squadron of fighters available. Alright, so if we pair up a frigate and a corvette together, along with the fighters, we should be in pretty good shape here. Make sure we launch those fighters. Make sure we have our 2 groups. We'll end our turn here. I'm sure there's going to be more targets than just those 2, since this is a significant story mission. Maybe not. Alright, so as you can see, we have a whole bunch of fighters available right now, which is great. So let's get those fighters to work.
Squadron target is confirmed. Squadron target is confirmed.
Alright, so we've got two squadrons assigned to each of the targets so far. Plus we've got 4 ships heading towards, or 2 ships heading towards each target. So we should have a pretty sizable force to engage these forces, hopefully. Oh, so we have another target. So these are probably some sort of ship that has at least some carrier ability. So what we're going to do is we're going to immediately get our Vipers working on those smaller targets, which were almost without a doubt fighters. They're either ships that are going to be moving to try to hack us, or they're actually enemy raiders. So let's make sure we have our Vipers going after those targets.
Understood.
moving our capital ships
On it, Commander.
towards their assigned targets. I don't think we have to make any big changes there yet. Right, so we definitely have some... Okay, so those are raiders. That's a raider squadron coming in. And another raider squadron coming in. So let's take one of these Viper squadrons. Actually, two of these Viper squadrons. I thought I had done this already. And have them go after that first raider. Okay. So our since our ships are fighting through
Brace for impact.
this late raider group, what we want to do is we want to maximize the defensive posture, because that will maximize their ability to deal with the anti-air targets. Okay, so let's...
Fighter squadron is taking fire.
Alright, so what's happening here? I think... Uh-oh.
Commander, multiple new Dratus contacts.
It appears someone really doesn't want us leaving Helios Alpha.
Alright, this just got very messy. Very messy. So first of all, it looks like our fighter squadrons are set up so they're all going to attack the same target. So I was hoping that I could split those up. I'm not sure why that's not working. Alright, so where are those new targets? Let's take a look at the larger... Oh, of course, they're in a position where they could do a lot of damage to our shipyards. So this is a bad place to be. Alright, so this is a problem. So what we need to do... Make sure our turrets are focused on focus fire there. And then unfortunately what we need to do is we need to have our fighter cover immediately go attack those nemesises. Because our capital ships, unfortunately, are going to take way too long to turn around to engage those targets.
Yes,
so we need to push forward on these other targets. Hopefully the Viper and the Vipers in the shipyards can take care of those two nemesises. Because I feel like it would be a mistake for us to turn tail. So what we need to do is make sure we're on defensive posture for our capital ships, because they're just going to have to push through this attack at this point. thing we can do is we could
Missiles on their way.
send a missile salvo back against those nemesises. It's not going to be the best scenario because it's probably going to take a couple rounds for those missiles to get back there, but that's probably the best scenario right now. It's not my favorite way to use missiles at long range against a target behind us, but I think that's what we need to do.
Hostile unit identified. Hostile unit identified.
All right, so we got two Talons here. All right, so Talons actually I can handle pretty well, I think. So those Raider squadrons are definitely going after our squadrons, and they're doing a lot of damage to them. So I think our fighter squadron, much as I hate to do it, I think we've got to focus down on the Raiders. Yeah, because they're getting chewed up. And what that does mean is that they're not going after our
Action stations.
surface ships so well, so we can actually push through and try to aggressively attack these Talons.
Understood. Firing solutions updated. Missiles incoming.
Alright, hopefully our missiles could do some good damage on that Talon. Still might have enough missiles to finish that one off. Luckily our shipyard has a fair amount of armor. So I think those Nemesises were kind of a way to get us to focus on turning around, which I think would have been a tactical mistake. So let's see how our we should be able to push through, keep working on those Talons.
So say we all.
Our Vipers are doing a good job on that one Raider squadron. So we got that going for us. Let's see how these missile hits come through. Maybe they'll finish off that Nemesis.
Missiles incoming. Daedalus is under attack.
Not quite. Did a lot of damage though. Alright, so Daedalus is doing okay. Let's see. Doesn't need any repair. Oh, it does need some hangar repairs.
On it, Commander.
Actually, not a bad thing for the enemy to be focused on that. So let's see. So our Vipers going after this other Raider group. But they have enough of a lead that I think they can go back here and finish off that Nemesis. Sir. I hate to move them back and forth, but I just had to get those Raiders off of their rear because they were doing significant damage.
So say we all. On it, Commander.
Definitely looks like an ambush scenario that they set up on us, right? Because we get the first initial targets.
Understood.
We focus down on those, and then they pop in with some second additional targets. Probably, again, hoping that we'll turn around and engage. Yeah, no repairs needed here. Really need to focus on switching this to offensive. Now that the missiles, it was that Adamant was being attacked by missiles, so that's why I had the defenses racked up. Now everybody else can kind of focus on. We need to take out these Talons as quickly as possible. Don't think we have any missiles available, right? Oh, we do.
Missiles on their way. Daedalus is under attack.
Alright, we knew that was going to happen. Luckily, Daedalus again has plenty of armor, so they should be alright. trying to hit those talons as hard as we can. Alright, there goes one of the Nemesis. So let's make sure the Nemesis, the Vipers are going after the second closest target. I don't see the other wave of Raiders. Are they in there? No, I don't see the other wave of Raiders. So I think we're doing pretty good here. Alright, everybody's got their jobs. It's all...
Daedalus is taking damage. Understood.
Alright, that second Nemesis is getting hit pretty hard by our Vipers. When you have large groups of Vipers, they actually can be pretty effective in taking out capital ships, simply just by the raw number of amount of firepower. So those Vipers should be available to help us soon. Because these Talons are certainly giving us a hard time. Fortunately, they don't have missiles. That's our biggest saving grace here, so we can actually just keep... If we keep hitting them with our cannons and then patiently wait for the opportunities to hit them with missiles, should work out all right. And we also want to make sure we avoid any significant losses to our force here. Okay. Missiles away. Talons just have a lot of guns and a ton of armor. So that's where you get into trouble with the Talons. Alright, so now we can have the Vipers go in and help us on these
Subsystem is back online.
capital ships. Alright, that Talon. Definitely is giving us its run for its money. Just keep hitting the rear. There. You know, the positioning of your ships is a really underrated thing here. Okay, so as you can see, this enemy here has... This Talon here has...
On it, Commander.
Is losing its armor. So you want to kind of guide your ship to engage in those areas, right? Especially after the missile strikes. Alright, so that Talon's almost done. There we go. Now I think there would be a enemy force coming in by now if there was going to be any more enemies here. But
Yes, sir.
we'll go ahead and have this group kind of circle around. They're going to focus on going back to the shipyard as needed. And then we have this one other Talon. It's trying to get away from us, but fortunately we have Vipers coming in to help as well.
Yes, Commander.
Right, so we'll just make adjustments to Alright, we have the ability to launch some missiles here. So between that and the Vipers,
Missiles on their way.
should finish this off.
Yes, Commander.
These Talons aren't exactly dangerous, they just have a lot of armor that you just have to fight through. Alright, our Vipers are still closing in to help on that. Then we have our other ships way over here. I guess we could start turning them over there. They
Understood.
could shoot at the Talon as well, but I don't see those missiles getting there before the enemy's destroyed. But you know what? We don't get paid. We don't get a return premium for coming home with our missiles, so we might as well launch those. I doubt they'll get there in time. Talon's just leading us on a wild goose chase. There it goes. That should be the last.
All Dreas contacts are clear.
Alright, there we
are
go.
go to jump to Helios Gamma, sir.
I'll sleep better when I can see the Ragnar clouds again. I don't think I've had more than 4 hours of rack time since PyCon.
We aren't safe yet. I want the data loss in Helios Gamma before we're attacked again. Yes, Admiral. FTL drives are spooling. Commander, we'll jump on your word.
Alright, pretty successful mission there. Biggest thing is we don't want to lose any ships unless absolutely necessary at this stage of the game.
Caprica is unacceptable. If we're to get a handle on this war, we need offensive forces out there actively repelling these Cylon incursions. Commander, small strike groups may suffice for scouting, but to defend the colonies, we require full capital fleet groups led by officers of Colonial Fleet.
Alright, so now we might be in a position.
I recommend you recruit experienced officers to provide strategic oversight to our fleets. Sir, one of McKinley's officers survived the attack on Pycon. We could recruit them to help aboard Daedalus.
Let's see. Yep, we'll go ahead and
Once an officer
recruit.
has been recruited, they need to be assigned to the fleet group they will oversee.
Okay. Alright, so we're going to assign that officer to...
This officer is experienced enough to be promoted. Hand them their new badge, Commander.
Alright, so we're going to
As
promote.
they become more experienced, officers can choose to focus on fleet-wide tactics or bolster the strength of their personal flagship. The presence of a Colonial Fleet officer
Alright.
at a colony will encourage the local government to pay their Tilium stipend. We didn't create the articles just to have them ignored.
Alright. Alright, so we now have a new pot. We have a new... We have a new commander for our
It is
main
your job
fleet.
to keep the Daedalus well-resourced and the 12 colonies defended. I have other business to attend to. Lieutenant Agathon will brief you when I have further commands.
Okay, so what I want to do here... Well, it's not going to let me do anything else. I have to end the turn.
New Manticore has been deployed.
Okay. So what I want to do here... I want to transfer... Right, so now this colonial fleet here is back to having 3 ships. And they're going to be in charge with trying to hold off the Cylons with these little incursions here. Alright, let's look at our capabilities to building ships. I think we have... Do we have any extra blueprints available? Oh, alright, so we can improve our munitions with this torpedo. I'm assuming the torpedoes are more explosive. Okay. Alright, so that's interesting. So, let's look at building ships. We've got a frigate, and a corvette that will be available shortly. That's going to greatly increase our fleet. We're not going to rush. Alright, so what I can do now is the drives for the Daedalus group are recharging, so they're going to have to wait. Now what we can do is we can take this group here, and we can jump them. Right, that will end our turn.
Detected a Cylon escort fleet, sir. Frigate is ready for orders.
Alright, so we have another frigate available. Let me look in the build ship queue. We have corvette. Some more ships building. Now, we have Colonial Fleet 17 and Colonial Fleet 18. So we're going to transfer this ship to 18. Okay. And those ships are going to go jump here. This frigate is going to transfer to the Daedalus group. Alright, so we're going to let that jump happen.
One of our allies is being attacked.
Alright, so bear with me. We're going to transfer there we go. So now this fleet has 3 frigates and 2 corvettes. So I'm feeling much better about its ability to engage larger forces without losses. So they're going to make that jump. We're going to get into that fight. Alright, this corvette is going to join our larger fleet here. So we've got 4 corvettes and 3 frigates 2 frigates plus the fighter wing. Alright, so we're going to do one more. Actually, we're going to call this a day for this video. But I think we've set the stage for a nice battle shortly. So please tune in for the next video on Commando Gaming and Battletech Battles. And click the like button if you're enjoying this series. And we'll have another video on Battlestar Galactica Deadlock shortly.